And all right, everyone, welcome to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Casanova Podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova, and I have with me the one, the only Insurago. Insurago, man.
What's going on, Mekel? Thank you so much for having me on the show. This is really an honor to be on here on Hawaii's #1 podcast.
Yes, sir, man. It's an honor to have you on here. Like, I know we've been talking over the last week, and it's funny how we got this going. I remember tweeting, I was like, having Insurago on Hawaii's #1 podcast needs to happen. And then you responded, and I was like, let's do this.
What I love about Twitter, when I saw that, I see all of the alerts and I go through every single message and alert. When I saw that, what I love about Twitter is just having fun with it.
Yeah.
So I think you saw my responses were like these GIFs and things like that. So yeah, it was just fun, and I'm glad we made it happen so quickly.
Indeed, man. Indeed. I'm glad your schedule is was available for me to be able to have you on the show, because a lot of times, like when I have guests on, sometimes their schedules can conflict just because a lot of people are either on the East Coast or in the Mountain Territory. But you and I, we have a 2-hour difference, so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Trust me, it's not too bad. I don't mind being in California working with you.
I think with Pete, he's 12 hours ahead of me.
He's in France, which is its own world.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens in France. He's all the way over there.
Oh man! All right, so go ahead, man. Like, go ahead and plug your social media, some upcoming projects that you're working on, and your various outlets. Tell people where they can find you. What's your
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm Rob. I am. I guess I run Insurago. So Insurago is a company that creates collectibles. We do mostly all licensed products. So we focus on a lot of video game companies. We've worked with some movie studios and things like that. Where you can find us. So we made it really easy. So Insurgo.com, all the Instagrams, Insurgo, Twitter is Insurgo, Facebook. So we covered it all. Our name is actually pretty interesting because people pronounce it so many different ways. I don't even know if we're pronouncing it correctly, but we can. I mean, that the name itself was when we were trying to come up with a company name. Um, we went. We were trying to find something that was cool, and of course, any company we wanted a .com,
Mm-hmm.
and within Surgo, we were trying to find something that was like honestly somewhat masculine, something that represented strength.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the name we actually went to, believe it or not, we went to like Latin and Greek dictionaries looking for a
Really?
name. We figured who else would pick a name that had Latin or Greek in it and put a .com. Um, and then we came up with Insurgo. We found it. It actually is spelled INSURGO.
Oh.
So we checked it out, and that name is a .com. So I was like, well, heck, no one knows what this is, so let's just drop the I and just take it, and we did, and that's how it came about. So uh, what it means to us, I mean, the name itself is rise above, rise against. So we really wanted to represent a different type of company that does things differently. We kind of sing to our own tune, and we want to represent really just video games, movies, just lifestyle, and our take on it, and not go like the way everyone else is doing things.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Hey, I like your snapback that you're wearing. It's
Oh,
nice.
thank you, thank you. I,
I see you're rocking the Vitrix as well, man. I've been wanting to get my hands on that.
Yeah, you know what? Shout out to Vitrix. We ran into those guys over on the CPT tour.
Mhm.
They they were the title sponsor last year, and needless to say, we would run into each other as vendors showcasing our products, and got to know them. And they shot over this really dope headset. Um,
Nice.
it's really cool. I have yet to figure out how to really use its full potential, to be honest with you. But what is coming from Vitrix, plug for Vitrix, their new fight sticks coming out really, really soon. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say the exact date, but that stick is coming out really soon. And I saw the first versions of it. Some of the FGC guys are playing with them.
Hmm.
Um, the first version, they liked it. They gave their feedback. Um, the stick, honestly, the stick was made by the FGC. I mean, they really put a lot of feedback. They put a lot of time. They hammered on these sticks, and I think there was a little bit of a delay, but it's well worth it. So we're gonna see those soon. So shout out to Victrix for this dope headset too. I like it a lot.
Yeah, man, I like the black and the purple scheme that they have with like their designs, and especially with that fight stick, man. I've been eyeing that out for like the last year. Like I go through Hori and Razer fight sticks. I still have my Madcast TE2 Plus, and it's like they're all good, but you feel like there's only like two or three main names when it comes to fight sticks, and it's like it's good to have another brand come in to have that competition there, because competition makes companies, in my opinion, become a lot better.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with you. And I played with the latest fight stick. I think it's the final version over at someone's house, and that thing is dope. It's really cool.
Oh man, I
Yeah.
can't wait.
Yeah, I hope I can get my hands on one. We'll see.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So I want to ask you, like, what has been like your experience, like being involved with like professional fighting game scene, and also like working with such companies as like Capcom and many others. I know we're gonna get into more other companies down the road, but like, that ride must have been like one hell of a ride. Like, how was it?
Um, Gosh, I mean, there's so much to cover here, and let's talk about Capcom, obviously, and Street Fighter, right?
Okay.
That is probably what we are most famous for in terms of the licensors that we work with. That started for us about 3 years ago now,
Hmm.
and with that, I mean, we are fans of the game. So the partners that I'm with, we all enjoy Street Fighter. We're fans of the game, and I mean, dating myself, I go back to when I was first introduced to Street Fighter Two,
Hey, I'm dating myself too, because I'm right there with you.
right? So the World Warriors, that's what we wanted to do, and we wanted to really create products for them. And um, the licensing director at the time, when he met us, he was like, "All right, what are you guys about? What are you going to do for us? Because it's still a business,
Hmm.
and we had to create products that were out there that no one else was making, right? To a certain extent. And the way we approached it was, hey, we're gonna frame this as a lifestyle brand, and representing Capcom and Street Fighter, and doing things a little bit differently, not do things like when you work with a licensor, there's a style guide, and they say, "All right, here are the assets. This is what you can create. Here are the pictures. These are all pre-approved. Slap it on a product, and you guys are good to go." Um, we weren't going to go that way. I mean, hence our name, right? We wanted to do things differently. So, our tagline is "Be original." So everything we've created to date has been all original. Original art, original designs, original illustrations by one of the greatest Street Fighter illustrators, Longbo, from Udon.
Hmm.
So we worked with Long, and from there we just started doing things like, I think everyone knows as far as skateboards, and that we didn't expect to take off like it did,
Hmm.
and it was pretty crazy how when we first introduced it at PlayStation Experience. Gosh, this was back in 2016. PlayStation Experience. We were at one of our friends' retail shops in San Francisco,
Hmm.
and then we showed it off, and immediately, I mean, we sold out. The first design, the first few that we had from our manufacturer, we sold
Hmm.
out instantly. It was crazy.
Oh,
So yeah, it was pretty nuts, and we wanted to just continue to feed this because we knew that we were onto something in terms of creating products that were original for the fans. And it wasn't necessarily for the FGC, but it was for all of the fans of Street Fighter. So it included the FGC, included all of, the casual fan, the guy like
hmm.
me who was playing the game, at university, instead of going to cut class just to play Street Fighter, all of us older folks, we wanted to create a product that everybody could enjoy and represent themselves.
Yeah.
So, working with Capcom is awesome, man. It's actually a lot of fun to work with them because you get to work with somebody that, I mean, I remember all the characters from back in the day, and gosh, if you asked me back then, you'd be doing this in the future, I would never believe it, right? So yeah, it's really cool. We don't get any insight at all. So I want to put this out there on what's happening with the game. Like, someone actually came up to us at a show and said, "We noticed that when you guys release a product, that it's almost like a hint of what's coming up the next season of Street Fighter Five." And we have zero insight into that. And people look at what we do, and they try to connect the dots. And I'm just like, no, no, we have our own product lines and our path, and we follow it. And just because we made a Sagat board and Onasan was taking pictures with Sagat before the announcement, we didn't know, right? I mean, that was back then, right? Season 3. So yeah.
Oh man, but I mean, it's funny because like anytime you do anything with like Capcom or SNK or even Bandai Namco, like people, the first thing they want to think is or say is like, "Hey, what's coming down the road?" And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all coincidence.
We really don't. I mean, the licensors. I mean, I'm not going to single out Capcom, but there is some direction that they give us. Like they may say, "Hey, focus on this character next year," or "Focus on this." Um, but the truth is, we don't have secret meetings talking about the future. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Oh man, and like how when it comes to like Insurgo, like with the creation of it, like how many people are part of the team? Like how did you all guys like did you guys all come together to create it?
Um, it's actually a pretty simple story. There isn't any one person that's actually, how do I say this? In terms of like actual employees, we're just a bunch of friends that work together.
Okay.
So, I do run the company, I do own the company. But in terms of the folks that I work with, they're all either, for lack of a better term, consultants
Hmm.
or partners, right? I consider them partners because we're all homies, but um, we all collaborate and we have ideas, and I pretty much will run the direction of where the company is going to be going and what we're going to be doing. So I think, to be honest with you, it's kind of from a business aspect, and I don't want to bore folks with this.
No,
um,
man, dude, you can go into the business. The audience here, we love when you delve into stuff. So go ahead, man. Go ahead. If you want to, go ahead.
I mean, just in short, it was one of those ideas where we went from, or specifically, I went from being a collector of everything, right? I collected vinyl toys, I collected Street Fighter memorabilia, I collected everything. It went from me standing in line at like San Diego Comic Con to where I was like, I'm sick of this. I want to be on the other side of the table creating and making this, right? So from that aspect, I just drove myself to produce and create product for the fans, because I was like, well, um, if I like it, hopefully someone else will.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And what have been like some of your ups and downs on this journey with Insurgo? Like, how has that journey been?
It it's been, I'll be honest with you, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. If you ever run into me at a show and you see me tired, it's because, I'll be honest, guys, skateboards are heavy.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, one skateboard's 4 pounds, and then we can move upwards of 300 to 400, at any given time, and those things are really heavy. The ups and downs, I think. Let's start with the downs, and then let's end with the ups, right?
Okay.
The downs is a lot of sleepless nights. I mean, we hear about the grind. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm grinding. I'm doing work. I'm doing work." Well, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Everything from late night phone calls, conversations, designing, getting things approved, um, paying the bills, getting in a van and driving all night to go. It all adds up. I mean, I don't know if they're really downs, but I would say that from the aspect of the company,
Hmm.
there's a lot of work that goes into it. The only down that we had last year, and this was pretty significant, one of or I'll be more direct. Uh, our graphic designer. So we have our illustrator who's Longvo, and we also had a graphic designer who helps out with the layouts and a lot of the flyers and everything else that we do. She actually passed away last year. So
What?
a lot. Yeah, a lot of people don't know this story. Some people do, and her name was Connie Lau. She was one of the founding, what I would say, like founding members of Insurgo, and she helped with the name. She helped with everything.
Hmm.
She had a really great background in design, toy design. She used to work for Mattel. She's a graphic designer, and she really believed. She didn't know much about Street Fighter, but she
Hmm.
really believed in what we were doing. So she contributed a lot of her own time to creating Insurgo. And when we started off, she found out she had breast cancer, and it was really sad for a lot of us. And then she she beat it. It went into remission.
Hmm.
So the true inspiration for the pink Chun Li skateboard was her. So I said we're going to create a pink Chun Li skateboard, and it wasn't originally designed. It wasn't in the plans, but we went for it. Long went and redid the design, so he did the other half of the skateboard. And in the end, it was really for her, and we wanted to do something special. Unfortunately, last year at this time, the cancer came back,
Hmm.
and she was given a limited amount of time to live. And to be honest with you, she worked until her last day, like literally. She was really into what we were doing. There's some folks know this and some folks do not. But her last designs actually was the side games Daigo line at Evo. So
Hmm.
those were actually her layouts and designs. She did some two original designs which actually sold out the fastest. And what else did she do? She did the Anime Expo skateboard. So everything that we've produced, I would say up to date, is something that she's done. So we still have a lot of designs that haven't been released yet. And that's mostly around the new Chibi skateboards. I'm sorry, Chibi T-shirt line.
Hmm.
Those are coming this year, but if I was to say a down, it would have been that we lost our graphic designer, and bless her heart, she was a huge part of this and always will be. And I remember when you know before she passed away, she's like, I really wanted to do something great, and I said, you did. You
Yeah.
created all this for everybody. A lot of she never wanted to be tagged on anything. She never wanted any recognition, but she was just a massive part of the company. So um, we did slow down a little bit because of that. So things obviously did take a hit in terms of our product turnaround. But uh, this year, we're picking it back up. So in terms of the ups, I mean, man, it's great. I mean, we've created stuff. It's been fun to go to all these events. It's
Hmm.
really been fun to honestly, it's been really fun to see like some of the looks on some people's faces, right? When they see our designs and what we're doing. Um, we were actually posted on Hypebeast. They posted our Akuma design.
What?
About
Wow.
Yeah, we were only like 8 or 9 months old, and they posted our Akuma design. And I mean, everyone knows Hypebeast, right? When Hypebeast got a hold of that, I was getting messages left and right. Hey, we want to collab with you. Hey, where you guys at? We want to do stuff with you.
Hmm.
And lo and behold, that's how the information collab came about. So
Wow.
it was a very interesting ride in terms of just social media and getting posted and um, working with information. I've always been a fan of information, right? Like
Hmm.
they make some of the dopest hats out there. Everyone recognizes them. And when a friend of ours hooked us up together, we talked to those guys, Todd and the crew, Keith and everybody, and they were like, "Yo, we're like massive Street Fighter fans. We have to do this." So we did the big capsule program with information, and needless to say, that was just fun. Like, so
Hmm.
there's a lot of these things that are happening. A lot of the ups are just the fact that we're growing and we're able to contribute back to the community. And I don't know. It's just been you put in a lot of work, and you get you what you put in is what you get out of it. So
Definitely, man. And again, my condolences for the loss of your friend, and the cancer is that's a beast in and of itself. I actually in 3 years in remission now. I went through colorectal cancer, so I know that's not an easy battle. So I'm sorry about the loss, man. That hit me. That really hit me.
You know, it's a very unforgiving thing, but I also feel like through that you really discover yourself and your friends and what you're capable of doing, right? And even me as there to support Connie, um, it was really important for me to stay with her to the end because it was because of us, we gave her what she wanted as far as her legacy, right? So
Mhm.
we were not gonna abandon her, so to speak. A lot of us we were pulling work away from her,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I remember this because it was Anime Expo, and she sent me a text saying this is it. And I remember this day. It was the first day at Anime Expo, and I said, because I actually dated her too. So full disclosure, I was
Oh,
dating her, and I remember telling her, I was like, "Baby, they love your skateboards. They sold out." And that was pretty much our last conversation right there. So yeah, but I mean, like I said, it's cancer. Everyone says cancer sucks. It does, but it's how we interact with each other as human beings, as loved ones, that we
yeah,
all get through it together, right? So
yeah, man, definitely. Again, condolences for your loss and her family. Like prayers with the family, with all you guys. That's difficult to deal with. But on the upside, you know, her work really has shown like the greatness of her work with the
yep.
company. So I'm appreciative as a fan. I'm appreciative of that.
No, thank you. And you know what? It's we continue on, right?
Hey.
We continue
oh,
on.
oh. Um. So with all the stuff you've done, like all the collaborations that you guys have had, like with Capcom, making Street Fighter skate decks to the GI Joe, Snake Eyes figurines, Tokidoki, Hello Kitty, Fat Kids, and even information. Like, how has it been building basically a global brand that reaches millions?
It's wow. It's sometimes it's kind of mind-boggling.
Mm,
Um, I've yeah, it feels weird sometimes because a lot of these publishers, companies, these characters, I'm a fan of, right?
mm,
And when you look under the covers and you look under the cover and you take a look at how these companies are run and their direction and how you're actually contributing to their success together.
mm,
I mean, collaborating literally, it puts a lot of stress on you because if you fail, you're failing a very big brand like Sanrio. I mean, they're a massive global brand.
yeah.
uh, Hasbro and Toki Hasbro, and what did we do with Hasbro? We did the GI Joe Snake Eyes, right? So if you screw up, people will know. So there's a lot of stress. Oh my gosh, the stories I could tell about delivery and making sure things get here on time and approvals. I mean, it would bore the rest of you guys, but you know,
No, do
it's
it.
really stressful. I mean, yeah, like probably one of the most stressful projects I worked on in terms of getting something up and running was the Back to the Future skateboard.
Hmm.
That took 3 years to make. I mean, it took forever because
Oh,
nobody could get it right. Nobody could get the top and the bottom exactly right, and we needed to get it right every time. Right?
uh-huh.
They're making these, and some of them the quality just wasn't there. So I had to go through several factories to figure out who could get this right, and we finally found the right one. And I can't disclose who this company works with, but needless to say, they work with some of the hottest skateboard companies in the world. So when people see our skateboard specifically, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, we've never heard of you. You're not a skateboard company." Blah blah blah.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I went back to the skateboard manufacturer and I was like, yo, they're talking crap literally about your skateboards. And they started saying, no, no, that's not the case. Because there's several skateboard makers out there, manufacturers in the United States and around the world. And it's funny because then they started responding back saying, yo, like, this is the same quality of wood as, I can't say the other companies,
Mhm.
but you're buying the same thing, if not better. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah, it it's pretty funny when it comes to just working with publishers. I mean, I'm looking at some of the stuff that we've worked on, and it feels good. To be honest with you, it feels good to see something out there, and like the GI Joe Snake Eyes figurine. We were at San Diego Comic Con when that was released. It was a collab with Bait, and I remember like that next morning, I went on Hypebeast because someone
Mhm.
sent me a link and they were like, "Yo, that GI Joe Snake Eyes figure is on Hypebeast." I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, like you guys are making stuff that are on the map." So it was a three-way. It was actually a three-way collab between um, Thousand Toys in Japan, Bait, and Hasbro. So
Oh,
we definitely helped facilitate that deal, and it was really fun to see. And um, Hello Kitty, always fun. I mean, that's it's so cute and everything else. And I know that there are other skateboard companies doing work with them, but our the way we are able to produce stuff is we did a special Sega Hello Kitty collab.
mhm.
And there was another collab that we actually didn't release, which I won't talk about, but there was another one we wanted to make. Tokidoki, we'd love working with Tokidoki. I mean, those guys are some of our favorite. I mean, the company themselves, they're here in Southern California too, and they're a great company to work with. Always fun, and everyone loves that stuff. And yeah, I mean, there's who else are we? There's other companies that we're talking to right now that it's become interesting because people are coming to us to help with some of their market penetration in markets.
Mhm.
So that's why we're like, oh wow, you've heard of us. So yeah, it's interesting.
And so, like, because I know there's like this real misconception a lot of people have that when you become like an entrepreneur, you go into business for yourself. That oh, it's super easy. It's not as hard. Like, no, it's hard work.
Oh, it's really hard. I mean, I can't even. I remember. I don't even know where to begin. It's hard. I mean, the stories I could tell. I mean, last month we had to move our warehouse, and we moved over a ton of skateboards, like literally a ton.
Mhm.
And it was just us moving the skateboards. The it's the paperwork you have to go through, the sleepless nights, the waking up early. I mean, the grind is real. So I wish I had time to like play video games and do stuff like I love to do.
Yeah,
Like take time off. But the truth is, and I hate to say it, I know like in today's day and age, everyone's looking for like work life balance and I don't know, 4-day work weeks, 10 4s, and I hear all that. Um, when you're hunting and you need to feed yourself, you're gonna go do whatever you have to do to keep going, right? So
yeah,
it's it's just I can't even describe. It's a lot of work, and those that get the fact that you have to really put in everything you got into it, those are the
mhm,
guys that are going to be successful, right? And I have people that I look up to. It's not just I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm the bomb and I'm going to handle all this. No, there are times where it's just like I really don't feel like doing this, and
yeah.
and I remind myself this is why I'm doing it, right? So
Mhm.
it's being an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is I think a cool tagline to be right now, but I don't even consider myself that. I'm just trying to make things happen, right? I'm
Yeah.
just I'm just trying to work through things and literally figuring things out, right? So I hear a lot of excuses why people also won't do it, and I'm just like, buy a book, go on Google, ask,
Right.
and the truth is just ask questions.
Yeah.
All you got to do is ask questions. Somebody has an answer for you. So tap into your network. If you don't have a network, create one. right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Because I run into that a lot too. Like with the last, because I've been on YouTube for like almost 3 years, and I've been doing this podcast for about a year and 2 months. And from seeing where it started, where it was just a hobby, to where it is now, where I'm building partnerships, sponsorships, and I'm getting to a point where towards the end of the year, I'm going to do this and YouTube and Twitch and like my whole separate brand where I'm reviewing games full time as a career. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, that must be fun." I'm like, "No," because I still work a 40-hour a week,
Yep.
40+ hour a week job at a hospital as an analyst. And when I get off, I'm clocking off there and I'm clocking on here. And they're like, "Oh, it's so easy." I'm like, "No, it's not." I'm constantly networking, reaching out, talking to people, trying to make things happen, trying to work with other people's schedules. And like I tell people, like some days I'm lucky if I get 4 hours of sleep or 3 hours of sleep. Like
Yep.
people, I don't think they understand that concept. And then they're like, "Oh, I want to do that too." And I'm like, if you're going to do it, you need to commit. And a lot of people, that's the struggle I think a lot of them have, is with committing to doing something and just going straight through with it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think you and I can definitely share some more stories when it comes to creating a brand, right?
Yeah.
And I see a lot of folks. I hear it all the time too. I see a lot of folks, and I'll keep it like esports related. I won't use the word FGC, but esports related.
Okay.
Um, I see a lot of folks half step in it, thinking that they deserve something back, right? And it's not the case. If you look at any one of the top players, I don't care who they are, anyone in any game,
Mm-hmm.
they put in a lot of work. They put in a lot of time. I mean, literally, I'm just thinking in my head when I go to an event, like I was at the Mortal Kombat 11 reveal,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh, the
The,
one in UK.
no, I was in the one in LA.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I was at that event, and the players that were invited there, I mean, they have handlers that have to like, hey, this guy just got off the plane. I mean, these players are putting in work. They miss flights. I mean, they're in hotels a lot of times. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. I think the experience is there. But when it comes to going after what you want, like doing doing Twitch and YouTube and everything else, you can't half step it.
No.
Y- because if you go all in, you'll be successful. I honestly believe that if you go all in, you'll be successful. And if you're doing it and you're not successful, just keep at it and then ask someone what you're doing wrong.
Exactly.
You can't see your own blind spots. If you're not doing something right, someone else will see it and listen to them. Don't take criticism. Constructive feedback's always important, even if it's non-constructive. If someone's just talking crap, listen to it and see why they're saying that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah.
It's like, and I've noticed that, like when it comes to YouTube, and I've worked with, and I know a lot of smaller YouTubers and content creators, and their whole thing is, oh, if I get a review copy of a game, I need to get it out as soon as the embargo lifts, or I need to do this and hit the algorithm. And I'm thinking to myself, how about instead of you trying to rush a product out, focus on quality and make sure you've networked with the right people, because you can network with the right person and that can be a huge
Oh yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
And it's like the networking, the marketing. I've noticed a lot of content creators don't understand that.
Yep.
A lot of people that are trying to come to me about how to start podcasts are like, "Well, what do I do here? What do I do that?" And I'm like, "Okay, have an idea of what you want to do and go with it, and then learn how to market yourself." And they're like, "Oh, I don't know how to market." I'm like, "Stop using social media as a diary for your life.
Oh,
And
bro.
use it as something to build your brand." Like I know so many people, they're like, "Oh, this company won't work with me." And I'm like, "Yeah, if you're saying a whole lot of stuff that might get them some shade, no, they're not gonna do
Yes. Yes. I don't even know what I agree. I don't mean
that."
to just give you two words, but I completely agree. I
You
completely
know what
agree.
I'm talking about.
Yeah. I well, let me flip the script on that. Let me say this. When it comes to, I agree with you, and I can give you an example of where we took social media. We collabed with someone. I talked about this before we went on air.
Mm.
Um, we started out. We were looking at our marketing strategy. You know, we're a startup. We had like $0. How do we get people to know who we are in with Street Fighter?
Mm-hmm.
I literally just went on Instagram and said, "All right, Street Fighter." What came up? And I found this account. Gosh, I can't even remember. I think at the time it had 10,000 followers or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Street Fighter Legacy. So I was like, "Oh, Street Fighter Legacy," and I was looking at his content. I'm like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. A lot of pictures. Oh, it's actually really dope stuff." So then I sent him a direct message and said, "Hey man, hey, we're a new brand, official license." You know, I gave him the whole like official stance. You know, we're a big player, but really we weren't. And um, they responded back like immediately, and I'm like, "Oh, this is kind of cool. Like they're gonna respond back." So uh, in our world, it's like, "Hey man, I'll give you some product. Can you promote us?"
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, hey, do you want to do a giveaway? Let's try to figure something out here because I selfishly wanted to tap into his following. Um,
You have to do that sometimes.
you
You
got to
don't,
do it.
you know.
You got to do it. Any collabs or any collabs, and I guess this is kind of like some advice. And I've learned from this too.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just collab with anybody.
Exactly.
You gotta be really picky. I don't want to say really picky, but understand what you want to get out of it and what they're trying to get out of it. Because, well, I'll finish the story with Street Fighter Legacy. Almost ending. Reached out to Pete, who I know you had on the podcast.
Yeah.
Um, Great guy. We've become friends since then. You know, he when he flies to the United States, guys, he sleeps on my couch. I mean, Pete's a great guy. Love the guy to death. Um, and reached out to Pete, and since then, Pete's I don't I don't even know if you want to call it a brand, but his account is it a brand? I'm not sure if it's a brand or what. He's been hit up by companies,
Yeah.
and and I'll kind of end it at that because that's more of Pete's story. But Pete and I talked, and he said, "Yeah, after you as an official licensee came to me, now companies are coming to me, and I know like, and this isn't secret stuff. He's doing like a giveaway with Arcade Shock, stuff like that. I mean, that's some cool stuff. And this is a guy who lives in France, who's a fan of Street Fighter, pure and
Yeah.
simple as that. He's just a fan. He did not have any intention of making money off the account. I think, and I've heard him tell the story. He was looking for a Street Fighter account on Instagram or something,
And
couldn't
couldn't find
find
one.
one.
Yeah.
So, folks, if you're out there and you want to make something and it doesn't exist, create it.
Yeah.
Pure and simple. Right? So that's what Pete did, and like I said, since then we've become great friends, and love working with him. I think I try to keep him on my how do convention staff. So I'll con him over and I'll say, hey man, you want to go to Capcom Cup? Well, work with me. You got to work my booth. So, but yeah, networking key. With information when we work with them, this is the truth, right? So when we worked with information, they offered something that we didn't have. These
Mhm.
guys make awesome hats, collectible hats, which was again in our realm. Um, for us, we wanted to penetrate the Hawaii market, right?
Mhm.
And all the fans of information, which we knew was mostly on the West Coast. So we do study these companies. Um, in return, they're humongous Street Fighter fans and wanted to do a capsule program with us, and use us in that fashion. So it was definitely a win-win for everybody there. And now
Mhm.
you're seeing information, doing some really cool collabs. I mean, I love the one they did with Zippies. I
Right.
mean, it's stuff like that. I mean, that's just cool. So Todd and Keith and Ryan, all you guys, man, I actually look up to those guys because I've gotten to know them on a personal level, and I mean, they just show the freaking. They're just awesome people, awesome
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah, and it's like it's that part with the marketing, the branding, the reaching out. It's a grind, but I tell people it's so essential. Like you have to, and if you're working with someone else, like I'm of the same mindset as you. Like there was a point when I was starting out, I was collabing with everyone, and then I got to the point where I was like, this doesn't make sense because we have nothing,
Yeah.
me and the other person, like, we don't have similar interests. So, like, a lot of times I will try and collab with, people that are doing FGC stuff or Street Fighter stuff or fighting game stuff or, action games or, the whole thing with the voice actors. Like, when I looked at a market for for podcasting and for doing interviews on YouTube, and I'm like, who else is interviewing voice actors on a regular? And I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it at all. And I'm like, okay, well, how about I start doing it? My first guest was Griffin Burns from Sega's Sega's Shining Resonance Refrain. And then I was like, cool, all right, let me see if I can go after my next voice actor. I was like, okay, I'll reach out to Dorothy Fawn. I'll reach out to Richard Epcar. My second guest was Dorothy Fawn. I'm like, holy crap. Okay, audience, if you grew up listening to the English dub of Trigun or Rurouni Kenshin, she was Kaoru and she was Meryl Streep. So I'm like, holy crap. And it opened doors. Like, I'm at a point now, like, if I have a voice actor on, they're like, oh yeah, I heard about you from such and such and blah blah. Yo, this person wants to come on your podcast. I'm like, cool.
Right.
So it's so essential to network, to market, and not use social media as a personal diary.
Yeah. Separate yourself and the brand, right?
Yeah.
And if you are going to use yourself in social media, document your path with your company. Document how you're getting there, because a lot of people love to see that. The stories are real. I mean, the story I shared about Insurgo and how we lost somebody and where we came from. I mean, it's all people actually want to hear those stories. And um, yeah, don't cause drama on social media. It's a waste. No one wants to read that.
It really is. Like, there's some stuff I see, and I'm over here like, yep, no.
Yeah,
I'm like, right before I'm about to hit enter and send that message to him, I'm like,
yeah. Just don't, just don't do it, especially if you're creating your own brand. I mean, yeah, there's just nothing good. Nothing good happens out of it.
no, not at all. You mind, like, walking us through, like, some of, like the typical work day for you, like, what do you do on the daily?
For me, that's very interesting. A lot of his phone calls, a lot of phone calls. So I wake up. I used to wake up super early. I'm actually waking up later in the day. So I wake up, and the first thing I'm doing is I'm responding to emails. Because I do have other clients in Japan and I'll just say Asia. A lot of times I'm either responding to emails or working through that. So that's kind of my morning. By mid
Mm-hmm.
morning, I'm getting emails from companies here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost this endless cycle. And really throughout the day, we look at several things. We look at our metrics on social media. We obviously look at our sales. We're always looking at our production line and making sure that our product line to make sure that we're on track.
Mm-hmm.
Things change, so we also have a show schedule that we go to. So we have a couple that are on the short list that we will be attending. The only official one that I know right now is San Diego Comic Con. But typically we do about 4 or 5 shows, 4 or 5 shows a year.
Mm-hmm.
So even those take coordination, right? So talking to factory, hey, is this product going to make this deadline? So a lot of is really boring stuff. There's nothing really cool about it. I mean, a lot of paperwork, a lot of emails.
Oh,
I'm
come
notorious.
on, you're not skydiving out of a plane and then,
No,
like, landing into an office and it's like, yeah.
no. I'm like the worst person to hang out with. I'm always on my
Lies.
phone and I'm texting or sending an email and everyone's like, "Oh my God, that's so rude." And I'm like, "Well, I'll go somewhere else then," you know? So 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 my friends get it. And when you're around a circle, like I have other friends, we all act that way in a certain way. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, put down the phone." But when you're running a company, you got to do what you got to do, right? And sometimes these deals and contacts, they literally come out of nowhere. Like I'll get an email from like left field, and I'm like, oh my god, it's X company that I've always wanted to work with,
Mhm.
and you want to respond pretty quickly to those because I won't lie. There are times where we slept on things, and we lost them because for companies they have to keep moving, and as a licensee for a lot of these companies, if we don't move, we're going to lose business. And when your reputation gets around about missing deadlines, then that's bad. So yeah, I don't really do too much, man. I'm working.
You sound like me. Like there's a lot of times like I have people I hang out with them. They're like, "Can you put the damn phone down?" I'm like, "I'm in the middle of an email." They're like, "It's not that important." Gosh.
It's funny because then as soon as like it's the sun sets here, it's morning in Asia. So
Yeah.
the whole cycle it just continues for me. And I'm not trying to brag about the fact, oh, I'm always on my phone. It's not even about that. It's a lot of it has to do with, hey man, I'm still young, I still have energy, and I'm
Mhm.
hungry,
Yeah.
right? I'm hungry, so I'm gonna keep working. And um I don't know. It's just one of the things. I'm just driven to work. I've never been afraid of work. And I remember before this all started, I kind of did an audit of my day. Like,
Hmm.
what did I do all day? And I was wasting a lot of time doing stuff that didn't benefit me, right? Like binge watching Game of Thrones or stuff like that.
Man,
Like
don't hate on Game of Thrones. I
I'm
gotta
not
get
hit.
caught up.
I'm not.
I'm
I'm not
kidding.
hating, and I do watch it when like I'm on the plane and stuff. So
Yeah.
I find my time, but um for a lot of folks who complain they don't have enough time during their day, like I hear people say to me, "Oh man, I'm really busy," and I know exactly what they're doing all day. And I'm just like, "Yo, what did you do all day?" "Oh, I woke up at like 10. I went to work and this, and that. And then I'm like, dude, you're not busy. You're not busy."
Oh,
Yeah.
do you ever run into the situation where people are like, "Oh, the new game came out, and hey, let's play online together." For me, I'm over here like, I'd love to. I have too much other shit I have to do, but I'll try. No guarantees.
I I've actually yes. The answer is yes. And I've actually found how do I make that not a waste of my time, right? So
Right.
I found myself on Twitch, right? So we just came on Twitch last year, and I was like, okay, let's go on Twitch, but at least I'm still promoting the brand,
Hmm.
right? I didn't just go out there. So I try to again, I'm trying to think how can I keep working but also have fun at the same time.
Hmm.
And God, needless to say, I'm horrible at Street Fighter Five. I mean, I am so bad, and I wish I could spend more time, and I can't. I mean, you just gotta grind through it. But um, there's so many cool games out there right now, and I'm just like, I wish I could play. I have more fun watching people play because I'm so bad. But but don't get me wrong, when I'm at Evo, man, and I see those when I see a station that's free and I could do casuals, I'll jump in there. But yeah, I don't beat anybody.
Oh man, I'm the same way when it comes to like everything, especially like this last year and the beginning of this year. There's been so many good games that have just
Oh yeah,
dropped. And it's like I'm still playing, trying to beat Red Dead Redemption. And as soon as I put that down, Resident Evil 2 is here. Then we got Kingdom Hearts.
yeah,
Then we got, what was it, December? We had Kage come out for
yeah.
Street Fighter 5, and I'm like, oh god, like, can I just like pause time so I can catch up? Like my backlog, it's a battle. My backlog is probably a decade and a half. Like I'm like, yeah, when I'm 50, I'll get to it.
Well, I mean, I think over time, we all find our balance, and yeah, like games for me, I love video games. I've been playing video games forever, and I put the controller, whatever, the mouse, the keyboard aside for a couple years. I'm starting to play a little bit more. Things are starting to work. I'm starting to be able to balance and adjust my time a little bit better. Um, but like I was watching some of my friends who are professional, I guess professional Twitch streamers. These folks, they're on daily for like 4 or 5 hours, right? But they make money and they monetize on it. I don't hate on them because they're doing what they like and it's supporting them. So I'm okay
Mm.
with that, right? So yeah, I don't know if that had a point at all, but
It made perfect sense to me. I'm good
yeah.
with it.
But since I'm never going to be a pro, you won't see me streaming for 5 hours because I tell everybody I'm just casual. That's it. I'm purely casual.
Oh man. Hey, so like, what are some of the services that you offer with Insurago that our audience, because may have some audience members that may become potential customers? So,
That's a really good question. A lot of people don't know. We actually not only do we do we're licensees for companies. So
mhm.
the front end, right? Insurago.com. Look at our social media. Hey, we make some really cool stuff. Um, on the side, or not really on the side, but as part of our other services, we actually have done. We actually did a pretty big production at
Mhm.
Comic-Con 2 years ago. We actually worked with Kojima. A lot of people don't know about this. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid.
D Kojima.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this. So
What?
yeah, it's actually a story. 2 years ago, before was the game announced yet? He was still, I think he was about to get kicked off of Konami, and he was about to start his new studio. I
Mhm.
think God, I hope I don't get this wrong because people come after me on this one.
Really?
Um, so he no, I take it back. He had started the new Kojima Productions. He had started the studio, so the studio was up and running. He was working with a company that we work very close with in Japan,
Mhm.
and they said to me, Rob, Sony, Kojima, they want to be at San Diego Comic Con and they want to do a talk show. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Can I go? And they were like, no, we need your help to produce it. Like everything, logistics, everything. And I was like, guys, San Diego Comic Con is in like 6 weeks. Like, there are no venues. Like, there's nothing exists. Like, how do we make this happen? They're like, that's your problem. We'll pay you to figure it out. So
Whoa.
don't get me wrong. It's not like they were throwing millions of dollars to fix this problem, but I was like, okay, let's figure it out. Um, I had to resort back because I lived in San Diego and I lived in downtown San Diego. And if you've ever been to San Diego, the gas lamp is a really small area.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everyone. We know all the bartenders, whatever.
Mhm.
Anyway, some of my friends were owners of venues, like comedy clubs and clubs and bars and everything else.
Mhm.
Um, they're like, we need a venue. So I called all the venues. All were booked by publishers. I mean, 6 weeks out, you're not going to get anything. There was nothing free. Hotel, conventions, everything was booked. It's San Diego Comic Con. Um, I resorted to a comedy club that I used to help promote way back in the day, and
Mhm.
I was like, "Hey, can we do a show at your venue?" It was an underground comedy club, and they were like, "Yeah, but we've never done this before." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. Can I book your venue?" And they're like, "Yeah." So 300 people could fit in there. Well, we were battling between Sony. No, we were battling between YouTube, who wanted exclusive rights to show this,
Mhm.
and Twitch. Twitch didn't want exclusive rights, but Twitch said we'll support you guys on this one,
Mhm.
right? And it went back and forth, and YouTube finally said, "All right, we're in. Like we'll help you guys out, and we'll throw some money at it to help with the production." Well, we found out this venue had no it had like a 2 meg up internet connection.
What?
I was like, guys, this like how much worse can this get, right? So we had to so I had to call somebody and a friend of mine who I knew did major production, like
Mhm.
huge production. I can't say where he works, but huge production. And he basically bailed me out. They moved a satellite truck in. He's done humongous shows, and I was like, at this point, the company was like, don't spare any expense, just make it happen.
Mhm.
And we literally did. So we help with production.
Whoa.
Yeah, so we've done that. We've worked with several Japanese companies to help distribute their products out here in the United States, I should say.
Mhm.
So we do that, and we also work in the world of licensing. So in the world of licensing, it's more of just figure out collabs or getting official licenses or getting exclusive licensing for companies.
Hmm.
Um, and on a short scale, we do manufacturing too. So companies have come to us to help manufacture, like OEMs, out some of their products. So I can't say who we have on the short list right now. We're pretty
Hmm.
excited about what we're working on, but like if you guys need anything made out there, you can come to us. So yeah.
Right. Hey, and in Hawaii, and I know you and I were talking about this on privately on Twitter before, but like this is something like Hawaii is really an untapped market. It
Yeah.
really is. Like it blows my mind how much potential is here, and nobody's really utilizing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Hawaii. Um, it's very interesting. They're. I mean, if we want to talk about like esports, let me back up. Let me talk about Street Fighter. For just my own experience and my opinion on it. I feel like in the United States, the Street Fighter saturation is already there. People know where to go to get Street Fighter memorabilia, licensed products.
Hmm.
Pretty easy. When you go to Japan, they have their own licensing group and really cool stuff out there too. Actually, go to Japan, you can find it.
Hmm.
The rest of the world, you can't find anything. South America completely untapped, and they are massive Street Fighter fans. I feel like in Hawaii, um, it's very difficult to get some of the products only because from a distribution standpoint, I'll even say it, we don't know where to go,
Hmm.
right? Like I don't know who to talk to necessarily in Hawaii, but I know that the Hawaii community is very strong. I see them at Evo. I see them at Capcom Cup. I mean, it's super cool to see. Everyone from Hawaii loves seeing you guys over there, right? Um, it's funny because sometimes when we're at New York Comic Con, they don't know what information is. They have no idea. But
Hmm.
then you'll see somebody who is from Hawaii and say, "Hey, man, that's from Hawaii. That's a Hawaii brand." It doesn't say hi. It's actually Hawaii, right? So, um, I feel like we have some great customers. We have some awesome people out in Hawaii who actually buy from us on the regular. But I feel like you're going to start seeing more in Hawaii, not only from like a lifestyle like companies showing up. Because I know for a fact like our friends over at Bait, they opened up a shop in Hawaii.
Hmm.
I think you may already have an undefeated. So you're seeing
Yeah,
these.
I think we do. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to start seeing it more. And even for us, right? Like I have a lot. I actually have friends in Hawaii also. It's like, Rob, when are you going to come over here? And we're starting to look at that also. And I think on a grander scale, logistically, Hawaii being right in the middle of between the United States and Asia,
Hmm.
it would make sense to see more activity happening out there. So I completely untapped market. I think it's a great area to explore and expand um, just awareness, right? Market penetration. When we look at it, market penetration. How do we get into the Hawaii market and support our fans out there?
Yeah,
So
definitely, definitely, man. And I want to ask you also, like, you and I actually dated ourselves. We
yeah,
said we were there for like Street Fighter 2 War Warrior. I remember when that came out. Yes, people, I remember 1992 very well.
yeah.
So, like, what got you into gaming, man?
That's a big question, man. Like, what got me into gaming? I don't know. I didn't want to study. um, I mean, I can go all the way back. I'm not even gonna kid. I can go all the way back to the Atari 2600.
Oof, me too. I can.
Okay, if you all right, so for all of you folks out there, I remember my neighbor had an Atari 2600, and yeah, I can go back to the 2600. What really changed the game for me back then was when the Nintendo came out.
Oh yeah.
Right? Those graphics were amazing at the time.
there was nothing like it at
No,
all.
nothing out there. I was playing Mario forever. I mean, it was, but I really feel like what changed gaming for me was Street Fighter.
Yeah,
For me, I mean, this is just for me. It was besides Kung Fu. Remember the old? Besides that, Street Fighter was the first game where it was one-on-one.
I was gonna
For
say,
me,
like, you brought up Kung Fu. I was like, we're gonna go down the path of Renegade, Double
yeah.
Dragon, River City Ransom, freaking bad dudes.
Yep, yep,
Like,
yep.
Final Fight, and it's like I think a lot of people never played, which is interesting because I'm surprised that it wasn't until last year's anniversary collection that a lot of people ever experienced Street Fighter One. I remember Street Fighter One, and I'm like, and then when they came out with two, I was like,
Do
and
you
now,
remember? So I never saw Street Fighter One. I've never played it, but I remember Street Fighter was in the movie Juice,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I remember in Juice, and I was like, "What game is that?" Oh, there was a Street Fighter, and at the time I was already playing Street Fighter 2. But I don't think a lot of people recognize that the game Street Fighter's been kind of like a lifestyle game for a long time. It's probably the most recognized fighting. I won't even say probably. It is the most recognized fighting game out there.
yeah. It's so heavily integrated into culture at this point. It's like, how do you separate like Street Fighter or Mario or Zelda or Mortal Kombat? They're so like they're part of culture now,
Yeah,
and
they
I
are.
think a lot of the newer generation coming up, like they grew up with it. Like, yeah, dude, you know, it's normal for them, but like for us, we were there from when it started.
Yeah.
And you would never think back in the 90s or the 80s, like what it is now. Like you couldn't envision that back then.
No, no. I mean, video games back then. I would always play in the student hall. I'd play in the student hall, and we would cut class. I remember guys. I actually remember guys would break the controllers and the buttons to steal them, so that they would bring them back to the dorm and make their own sticks. I don't know if people really. Yeah, this was a long time ago, but yeah, I'm not saying what university I went to, but yeah, we were not we. They were breaking arcades and stealing buttons. But the idea of online didn't exist, so you were playing against the guy right next to you, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes fights would break out, right? You'd stack your quarter up. I remember all this stuff, and it was such a different time than it is today. I remember actually my first interaction playing against Japanese players Street Fighter. Like, I thought I was like, I can handle my own in the United States, and there's no way this guy knows how to play Street Fighter, because I was being really stupid.
Mm.
I got my ass kicked by a Guile player. It was so bad, and I was so frustrated. I'm like, I'm gonna beat this guy, and he never said anything to me. He was really just quiet, and he would. I know deep inside he's probably like, this guy's an idiot, but I remember playing in Japan, and it was like a different level. Like, I literally didn't want to go back in the arcade. I felt like crap because I was playing so bad against these Japanese players. I don't even know who I was playing against. Like could be anybody like that's around today. But that was my first taste of an international game. Playing Street Fighter, a fighting game against someone else, and I think it really changed the game for video games in general.
Yeah.
So.
I was gonna say, like, I had a similar experience, but with mine was more with like King of Fighters, because I remember being really, really good at King of Fighters '97, and I could beat anyone who I played against. And the one time I went down to South America, I played someone who used Athena's team.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is Joe team. What is this guy? Because the guy didn't even speak English. I'm like, I'm going to destroy this guy. Dude we played 3 matches, 3 perfects back to back.
Wow.
And it's like, and it's kind of funny because in South America, that's a very dedicated. They love fighting games. They love
Oh, they do.
They love SNK. They love Capcom.
Yep.
They are dedicated.
Yep. Yep. I mean, when I look at the community in South America, right, and I've interacted with some of the folks over there, they've reached out to us too. Um, it's just it's a different community. It's a great community,
Hmm.
right? I mean, honestly, I don't even have the words to express. I know for a fact, Ono-san, right?
Hmm.
He loves South America. I mean, they're just such huge fans. I mean, and it's not even just fighting games. I hear about the Gears of War team. Like
Yeah,
the teams, not even the game, but the teams, these guys are treated like rock stars for Gears of War. I had no idea until when I was talking to Microsoft about it. And they were like, these guys are treated like rock stars in Mexico. I was like, why? It's Gears of War, it's a great game, but they're like, no, it's the players. They love them.
yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
And
So
it's really something when you get exposed to like a different, different demographic of the world and like their scene, like it's eye opening.
absolutely. I mean, I think here in the United States we're a little spoiled.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say that we're a little bit spoiled because we have access. It's so easy to have access in the arcades, right? I'm not talking about online. Back then, we had the arcades and stuff like that. But when you go to different parts of the world, when they see this, they're like you said, extremely dedicated to the game. So and they appreciate it. They appreciate everything that they're given, in terms of just. I've talked to a lot of people, and they're like, yeah, when they see stuff that's Street Fighter related or any video game related, and it's like official. They literally treat it like gold.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And like, and I think there's also like with this generation now, like they're into the shooters. I like shooters too. I can dig it here and there, but I don't think they realize how astronomical fighting games were in the 90s.
yeah,
That was everybody was playing
yeah.
it.
I mean, I think shooters are, in my opinion, they're an evolution of the game, right?
Hmm.
And we've also seen evolution in fighting games. I remember it was kind of funny. We had Street Fighter 2, Street
Hmm.
Fighter 2 Turbo, and the reason why people are playing Mortal Kombat because they weren't good at Street Fighter, so they get kicked off and they're like, "Oh, there's another machine there. Let's go start playing that." But we started seeing evolutions of different games over time, and I think with first-person shooters, it's kind of the same thing. We've seen Call of Duty, we see CS:GO, we see all these games. Um, I mean, my first shooter was Doom,
Yeah.
right? And from where we are today, then to today is mind blowing.
Yeah,
So
because I remember back when first-person shooters that was a PC thing, and we called it was it corridor shooters back then.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Castle Wolfenstein, right?
Right.
Yeah. See, I spent a lot of time playing games and not studying.
Well, yeah, it's just something like I remember the arcade scene, and I kind of wish that scene never died out here in America. But like I
Yeah,
remember like every time there's a new game, it's either you read about it in GamePro magazine or EGM, or
yeah,
every time you go to the arcade, there's a new machine, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's this?" And I miss the days when you just played a game to figure it out, versus now it's like, let me go find an FAQ or let me, you know look it up online or YouTube. Like, no, we actually people now who lab, I got respect for them for labbing, but back then,
yeah.
we were scientists. We had
I,
to experiment constantly.
dude, I remember just like you said, it was funny. You'd have some guy you've never seen before from another city, like come down, and kick everyone's butt. I remember this, like, or you would show up somewhere, and that's how knowledge got transferred, right? I mean, I remember this guy from Maryland came down, and he looked like this little kid, and his buddy. I was friends with his buddy, and he's like, Rob, watch this guy. He's gonna beat everybody. I'm like, no, there's no way. We have really good Street Fighter people here. He's like, no, watch. He literally beat everybody, and he's beating everybody with Chun Li. And he had a technique of doing an air throw by pulling down when you're in the air and hitting the punch buttons, right? None of us knew about this technique. So back then we didn't have access to the internet and there weren't like forums. It was more of like word of mouth about these techniques that would come. And Yeah, it was really different back then. It was really different. Yeah, we didn't know what the combos were. You had to create your own, and you talk to somebody, and yeah, God, it's just so much time spent. I'm just thinking, so much time, lots of money too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Quarters, man.
And what do you think of this current like resurgence? I kind of want to get your perspective on like the
Yep.
current state of fighting games and gaming in general compared to previous generations, because it seems like we're seeing, especially with the fighting game genre, a resurgence. We've got Samurai Showdown coming back.
Yeah.
We have Fighting EX Layer came out last year, and that was a passion project, and it became something. Now they're crossing over with SNK, and Street Fighter's doing better. I mean, that's kind of a divisive topic,
Yeah.
but I think it's doing really good. I enjoy Street Fighter 5. Don't blame me, people. I enjoy it.
Um, I think that when it comes to fighting games, and this is, I hear a lot of, there's a lot of different sides to the story, right? When it comes to fighting games, we talk about. I think that there's actually a lot of games coming out, and you'd mentioned it earlier. It's the competition, right? When
Mm-hmm.
we look at fighting games and we're looking at different publishers creating different games and making their own unique style of game, um, I think that we're definitely seeing everyone level up their game, so to
Yeah.
speak, right? I think when it comes to the communities, though, I think some communities. I'll be honest with you. I think some communities are stronger than others.
Yeah.
And when you look at different games and different, Killer Instinct has a community.
Mhm.
Street Fighter has a community. Everyone has their own. Mortal Kombat has their own, right? And um, the one comment I'll make is that I think the greatest community out there, honestly, is the Smash community.
Yeah.
I don't play Smash. Like for me, it looked like a button mashing game. Like I'm like, there's no, for me, and no one flame me for this. I was like, there's no skill to Smash, right?
I still I have to fight the urge to think that about it, because sometimes and I think it's for you and I, and correct me if I'm wrong. We saw it when it first came out, and it was a party
Yes,
game. It was a party game. That's what it was. It was never
yes,
marketed, and I don't think Nintendo has ever really promoted it as a fighting game.
no,
It's just like we saw it. Oh, it came out on the 64. It's like, oh, that's cool seeing a collab like that, and then Melee came out. Oh, that's cool, but it's kind of like it it's not for us what it is for a lot of the newer generation.
I think that for whatever reason, when Nintendo came out with this game, the timing was perfect for that generation.
Yeah,
Honestly, I think I don't. I'm not saying I don't think they did it on purpose, but they timed it perfectly. I mean, I play Smash Ultimate, and I'm getting my butt kicked. So whatever I said about it being button mashing, I know that there's skill to Smash. Like you have to know what you're doing. But when it comes to the community of Smash, it's just an amazing community of support. I've never seen any other community like that. And
yeah,
I'm not knocking anyone else, so I don't want anyone to think, "Oh, Rob said," and Sergo's saying that all the other communities suck. It's not even about that. I'm just saying from the standpoint of community support and how they rally around each other and just everything.
yeah,
The Smash community, I would say hands down is the best community. I think when it comes to other communities, like I'll say it, FGC and Street Fighter, I think there's a lot of history there, and I think that history is richer than any other community out there. I mean,
yeah,
you have Daigo, right? You have Justin Wong, you have Evo, like all of this stuff, and from that aspect, I think Street Fighter will always be there, and I think Street Fighter right now has the richest history when it comes to a community.
yeah. It really does. I look at it with when you look at Smash, like that community's passion is just so strong. Like and it's funny because Nintendo does not support Smash in the way that Capcom promotes and supports Street Fighter, or SNK with the King of Fighters franchise, or NetherRealm Studios. It's something when you see like Nintendo makes it, Sakurai makes it, puts it out, then they don't touch it for 4 or 5, 6 years. They don't. I mean, now they're doing the balances with Smash Ultimate, but like before, it's like, nope, this is it. Here you go.
Yeah.
And that community works with it. You know, it's something.
I mean, seeing these guys lug in CRT TVs,
right?
I mean, seriously, and these aren't even, and these are young kids. These aren't exact. Some of our young folks. It's just, it's a really. I think a lot of people should study this community and figure out how they did it. Because when I was watching Genesis a couple, was it last week or the week before?
It was
I mean,
last week, I believe.
I think it
Yeah.
was last week. I mean, just watch. It's an amazing community to watch, and they're passionate. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I really wish the Street Fighter community had that, because it's funny when I see people in the Street Fighter community talk about how they hate 5, but they love 4. And I'm thinking, I remember when 4 was out and you guys hated 4 and wanted 3. And I remember when 3 was out, you hated 3 and wanted Alpha. You
Yeah.
hated Alpha, you wanted 2. It's an interesting community.
I feel like we're seeing some interesting moves happening in FGC with Street Fighter 5, right? And I actually feel like it's gonna get better.
Yeah.
I feel like last year, um, when now we're in season 4, right? And I think that the balancing is there. I think the game is better. It's getting much better reviews. I think people are actually having fun with it now. I think that and maybe it's a level of, they're accepting it
Yeah.
for what it is, right? I also know there's folks out there who just refuse to play, and I wish I didn't see that as much, because it's still a fun game. It's still Street Fighter,
Yeah.
and it's like just support. I feel like supporting the game and the community is important from a grassroots perspective, and um, it's sad to see some folks go I think it's sad to see some folks go and just really say, I'm done with it. I think I would love to see a lot of players come back. I mean, people have come to me and they think I'm like have an inside with Capcom, and they've come to me saying, oh, this and that about Street Fighter 5, and I'm like, I didn't make the game. I have no input into the game to change it, but I don't know. I hope that with the new season coming up, I mean, there's going to be some exciting announcements. I feel like it'll pull more people back in, and I also feel like with some of the players that are in the game, that they're going to start um, liking the game more. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just have this feeling like some. I was with some guys, and they're actually saying some guys who kind of pulled out of it and didn't take it. They weren't competing anymore, and then they were playing for fun. They were playing better. Like I was watching it, and and people were making. I don't want to say who I was with, but these are some top players, and they were like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Dude, you're getting better." He's like, "Well, I'm having fun now." So I think that's starting to come back. So I don't know. I hear a lot of things, and I don't want to put people out there, but I think Street Fighter 5. I feel like we're gonna have at least another 2 seasons left, like this season and the next year,
Yeah.
before we see a new version. Um, but guess what? The salt's going to start pouring when 6 comes out, and people are going to come back to 5.
It's
I,
so
I,
true.
I already know. That's why I'm like, guys, just you should accept the game for what it is and work with what you have.
Yeah.
So
So, speaking of, like, I know we brought up Daigo earlier. Like,
yeah.
how did you come about, like, being able to work with the legendary Daigo and the Games Beast line?
Um, I'm not hesitating because I don't want to talk about it. I'm hesitating because I want to make sure I get the story straight. um, we
Don't worry,
interacted with
we can edit it if you want.
no, it's fine. Yeah, and it's not like it's a secret, right? We actually met Daigo's management team in Seattle during Red Bull. This was like 2 or 3 years. This was 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And we met the management team. We're one of the only vendors by Red Bull that was at this event in Seattle. It was Battlegrounds, and we were there, and It was actually a very simple conversation. It was like, hey, Daigo, legendary player, how come we don't have merch for him? It was literally that simple. And the management team was like, you're right. Why don't we? And let's talk. So we started talking.
Hmm.
And then we actually started giving some input on branding. We actually designed the Beast logo.
Really?
So yeah, that Beast logo was designed by NSURGO. That was not designed by the Daigo team.
Oh,
So yeah, another thing that we can do, right? So
hey, I need a new logo. So I'll talk to you
yeah,
guys.
let's chat. So we designed the Beast logo, and in terms of branding, the direction we wanted to take Beast was the same as two things:
Hmm.
the Jordan brand. Jordan's a legend, right? And the other brand, Tap Out. So when you look
Oh,
at remember Tap Out, and a lot of people were just rocking it because it was cool, right? It was really like,
yeah.
hey. So a lot of people weren't into UFC, but they were wearing Tap Out stuff, right? And so we were like, all right, let's design a logo with that in mind. So when we thought about Beast, we wanted a logo that can go across, like, you don't even have to be a fighting game person. It's just a cool logo. So that
Mhm.
was the idea with the logo. Our first activation for Daigo was, and I want to make sure this is clear. The Beast brand is the Beast brand. So when we did our first activation, it just says Beast, and that is owned by Daigo. He owns that. That is his brand. Um,
Wow.
with Psy Games came later. Psy Games is a sponsor to Daigo. They don't own necessarily Beast. So Psy Games is a sponsor. So it doesn't, we hear Psy Games Beast, and they have a great relationship, and I love working with both of them. I absolutely do. They're awesome to work with. But when it comes to, a lot of people think, I mean, I remember I would hear commentators say, "Oh, it's Psy Beast, Psy Games Beast." Beast is this company, and Psy Games is this company, and Psy Games is a sponsor. So
You know that? Wow.
yeah, yeah. So it's not a, it's no different than any other sponsorship out there. But yeah, the Beast team is Beast, but Psy Games is the title sponsor to that team. So they are definitely separate entities.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Those are just some how do I say this? Uh legal facts about the two companies. Lack of a better term there.
Got that food for thought in there.
Yeah.
I like it. I can dig it.
But
So,
all in all, we're helping with the brand strategy and creating merchandise for Beast, which is really who we are licensed to work with.
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. And also, like, what is it like to work with like Evo and showcase like your brand at that event, and also with other FGC events?
I would say Evo is the one event that, as a exhibitor, 3 years ago was my first time exhibiting at Evo, and Evo is probably the best event to exhibit at, hands down. It is FGC. It is everybody waiting all year. It's kind of like a pride event, meaning like, a lot of honor and pride to show up to Evo. I think you hear a lot of people saving up their money just to come to Las Vegas for Evo. The experience, out of all the shows I do, I don't care what
Mhm.
show, San Diego Comic Con, New York Comic Con, just anywhere. Evo is the hardest show for me to do. It is the most draining physically to do
I,
because, yeah, Evo is, and it's funny because I had a bigger team out there this year because we helped with side games,
mhm.
and I told them, I was like, guys, we're going to Vegas, and I told Pete this too. Pete, hands down, will tell you Evo's the hardest, and I said, it's going to be the hardest show you're ever going to be at physically. It has nothing to do with, like, like, I don't know. It's just hard. And a lot of it has to do, I don't know, maybe it's because we're in Vegas, but it's not about partying. It's the fact that we have to get there early. The first day at Evo is like almost like a 16-hour day, right? We're there literally at like 7:30, 8 a.m. and we don't leave until they tell us it's okay to leave because the pools run forever,
Yeah.
and then we don't want to just leave our product out there. So We're out there sometimes. I think this year we're out there's like 8 or 9:30. So we worked a long ass day. The next day you work, so we come get there the same day or early in the morning, and then we have to pack up and get out of there as soon as possible. So it's so physically draining to do Evo. I love it because after the second day we can go party.
Mhm.
But the problem is, I remember my first Evo that I did. I mean, this is the honest to God truth. I couldn't walk back to my hotel room. My feet were hurting so bad. That's
What?
it was oh my God, it was the worst. I remember we had our booth, and then I was running to like HyperX. I was helping out, we were selling some Daigo product there, and then Red Bull pulled me in to do an interview. And I remember it was like 9:30, and it was in Mandalay Bay. I was sitting at the bar drinking water, and I couldn't move. Like I couldn't walk back to my hotel at the Luxor. And I was so tired. Everyone's like, "Hey, where you at? Let's go have drinks." I'm like, "Dude, I am really," because it was so much standing and walking and
Mhm.
selling and talking to people. I mean, seeing so many friends um yeah, and last year was not any better. It was the same thing. I was so exhausted. So,
Oh,
yeah.
goodness.
That's as an exhibitor, but as attendee, it's hella dope.
Oh man,
Hella dope.
that's food for thought right there.
Yeah, I mean, have you been to Evo?
I've not. No, this is actually going to be my first Evo. I'm finally, because typically my work schedule always conflicts, but I told my boss like, no, I'm taking off for Evo.
Do it. You'll love it. You'll remember it. It's really fun. I mean, everybody's there. That's what's great about it. Everybody's there. And I mean, the other side of Evo is like you're walking through the casinos and you're seeing like all the players gambling and stuff, and it's really fun to see because I watch it and they're treating it like a game still. I mean, it's gambling, but it's a game, and it's so funny to see them, show their tech. I mean, they have tech on how to play the games. It's hilarious to watch. So
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I'm excited. Like, it's actually that'll be the first Evo for me. I'm like finally got my schedule cleared up for me to go, and it's funny because my boss is he's into fighting games too. He's like, "Damn it, Mekel, I want to go." I was like, yeah, "Well, let take off." He's like, "We both can't be off." It's like,
hey man, I'm gonna say shout out to the Hawaiian community. They're always out there showing love. I love seeing everybody out there, man.
definitely, man.
Always,
Yeah,
always.
definitely shout out to Keith Lemos and Video Gamers Hawaii 808, as well as Travis with FGC Hawaii on the Big Island. Shout out. Thank you guys for helping support and create the scene out here. Yeah, man. Here's the other question I wanted to ask you. So
Yeah.
with skateboarding, skateboarding and video game culture, truthfully, they go hand in hand. But how did you come up with the concept and executing on having like Street Fighter and fighting game characters on skate decks? Like that's ingenious, honestly.
So, um, great question. We just wanted to do something different. There wasn't a formula to it. We didn't say, all right, we're gonna do this and that. Um, skate life, right? I mean, skate life and Street Fighter. Yeah, I can't agree more. Obviously, hand in hand. Um, we just wanted to do something different, but our twist on the whole thing was we're creating a product that we want to make collectible also because we felt that skate not this isn't necessarily for the skateboarders, it's for the lifestyle and the fans. So
Okay.
you don't have to be a skateboarder to buy these skateboards because skateboarding is a platform. Now I'm going to kind of digress in this other direction.
All right. I'm
Um,
ready. I'm strapped in. Let's go.
all right, so skateboards as a platform is a great art piece. People have been using it for a long time, to do custom art and whatnot.
Mhm.
So we saw that opportunity and we said, all right, we're going to do Street Fighter characters on this. And we kind of left it to long. We left it to the illustrator. We're like, all right, here's your palette, create. And so we started creating these skateboards, but it's only half the face.
Mhm.
And we're like, okay, that's cool. You know, has an artistic design to it. Initially, actually to this day, skateboarders hate our skateboards
What?
because they're like, it's an art piece. They know, like they're like, we will never ride this skateboard. It's an art piece, and I get it. Like I totally respect and get that.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't, and out of, I guess out of respect, they don't want to destroy the skateboard. I mean, we got guys thrashing the boards anyway, so um, but yeah, so we started doing this, and we literally just use skateboards, and to create the collectability to the skateboard, we actually did laser engraving on the back. So they're each individually signed and not signed, laser engraved and numbered. So we didn't realize that once we started doing that, we
Mm-hmm.
separated ourselves from any other skateboard company. So companies come to us to say, "How did you guys do that?" And well, number one, why? And that's super dope. And can you do it for us?
Wow.
And we didn't think any, we honestly didn't think anything of it. We were just like, because I'm a collector and I'm like, yeah, man, I'd love to have number 5 or number 7 or number 8.
Mm-hmm.
But now but then people are like, it doesn't just say like, I think Santa Cruz did like a Star Wars release, but
Mm-hmm.
they wrote it in. They had like a marker and somebody wrote it in. For us, I think it's Santa Cruz. So Santa Cruz guys, if I'm knocking you guys, I apologize. I forgot who did the Star Wars deal. But for us, we actually laser engraved them. So
Wow.
actually, I have one here.
I see it.
So yeah, this is I don't know if you could see that now. Yeah, can you see that right there?
Yeah.
So that's actually laser engraved and individual. So they all have a unique number on them.
Wow.
So this instantly became a collector's piece, right? And people didn't want to ride it. This is actually the original Ryu deck,
Nice.
which I know if people see that, they're like, well, how come you have that? And I thought it was sold out, but I have a couple for myself. But yeah, um, and then something else happened. So Long was creating them, and we're like, oh, that's super dope, that's super cool. And then we were like, well, how do we do something for the shows? So then we're like, all right, for shows, we'll do the other half. So the original Ryu deck, the other side of the Ryu deck, at San Diego Comic Con later that year, we released Evil Ryu.
Mm-hmm.
So when you put the skateboards together, it creates a whole
Whoa.
piece. So I wish I can't show it off here, but yeah. So with Chun Li, you have the original blue one, and then the other side, it completes her. And if you look on our Instagram, you actually see it. And it's really funny. If you go on the facial recognition, like I shot it with my iPhone, it
Mm-hmm.
actually recognized her full face. Like it was like it knew that it was a face. So yeah. So
Wow.
shout outs to Long. I mean, he's amazing and extremely creative. We didn't think of that idea at all. He did.
Mm-hmm.
And it became our signature like look that we have. So
You know what? I should get you in contact with the voice of Ryu
yeah,
because he loves the stuff you guys have. He loves it. He's a good friend of mine. I'll shoot you his contact
yeah.
when we wrap it up. But that'd be awesome to see.
It was funny because Daigo, we actually gave Daigo a prototype Ryu Evil Ryu for his
Mm-hmm.
birthday, and he was the first to show it off. So he kind of announced it for us,
Mm-hmm.
and he put it together, and people just went nuts over it because no one knew that we were going to do that, right? And then we dropped it on everybody, and now everyone waits. Like every time we go to the show, they're like, "What's the other half?" So,
Man, that's insane.
but yeah, skateboards. Why did we pick skateboards? Because I'll be honest with you, I actually have a lot of friends that are actually professional skateboarders because I used to live in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the whole like the Birdhouse team, they're all out there, and some of my friends had Street Fighter cabs in their shops, right? So I immediately knew that there was a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a skater, I'm not a pro fighter, but I'm a fan of both, right? So I literally just put it together. So
See, you found that there was a market for it, there was a desire for it, and there you go.
yeah, and that you create, there was a space, so we filled the space. So that's how we went after it.
Awesome, awesome, man. And so the other thing I want to ask you is like with the whole this direction now with esports and it being legitimately considered by, you got ESPN, you've got, all these companies that now are looking at it as a legitimate sport. Like, what is your take on the influence of esports and what is like the professional future of the FGC from your perspective? Or better yet, from a business perspective?
I think that I don't want to use FGC necessarily, but I'll say esports.
Okay.
Just esports in general. I feel like right now, because I actually have a friend. She's like a Jerry Maguire. She works with professional players, NBA, MLB, all that. And she's actually hit me up saying, "Hey, what's this esports thing? I have sponsors wanting to get into it. I don't know anything about it. You make these toys. Like, what's going on with this esports thing? Like, what do you do? What do you know about it?" Um, I feel like right now it's kind of an uncharted territory. Meaning,
Wow.
meaning this that there's so much opportunity right now in esports management, in sponsorship. Nobody has really blazed that, trailblazed to the answer yet. No one knows what's going on here. We look at Echo Fox.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the purge that happened, right? I mean, Taquito doesn't even have a team now, right? And whatever Echo Fox was doing, they obviously had their reasons for it, right? And I'm not saying they did anything wrong, but I think that I felt like that they were trailblazing in the beginning, and then and again, I don't know the details, but at what point? And everybody asks this question: when are you making money
Yeah.
from a business aspect, right? I know there's a lot of teams out there, and I have friends who are team managers and things like that. Um, and I've had the discussion with them, and I feel like right now, uh, someone has to come up with that formula of how a sponsor can make money.
Yeah.
I mean, let alone a team, right? But how does a sponsor make money? How does Doritos, no plug for Doritos, right? But how does Doritos make money off of this, right? I mean, you see Monster and Red Bull, and they kind of go hand in hand with gaming and energy drinks. But I don't even see that many players drinking Monster Red Bull. They're drinking water,
Yeah.
right? So how do you? I don't like Red Bull. I know for a fact Red Bull has their own tour, right? They
Mm-hmm.
have their own. So um, how do these guys make? I don't know. Like if I was to get into the business and someone came to me, I'm like, well, how am I making money off of this? Oh, through awareness. I'm like, well, I could do that on my own.
Right.
So I'm kind of rambling along here, but in
I'm,
my
I'm enjoying it. Keep going.
in my honestly, in my opinion, I think that it's uncharted territory. I think that but I think there's a lot of opportunity in esports. I mean, what is it? $12 billion in video games alone
Mhm.
in revenue, right? I mean, it's out there, guys. You look at Riot Games and everybody else. I mean, maybe the trend is like Ninja, where you have Ninja as a person. He's not part of a team. Ninja's Ninja, right?
Yeah.
And he's on CNBC making half a million a month or whatever crazy number. I mean, that blows you away, right?
It does.
It blows you away. But the one thing I think when kids see that, they don't realize Ninja's been around since the Halo days.
Yeah.
So it's not like he just came up and said, "Oh, I'm really good at this game." Um, but again, uncharted territory. Do you go solo and get sponsored by like I think who's Ninja with Red Bull and I forgot
Red
his
Bull
sponsor.
and yeah,
I
I
think
can't think. I can't think of the other one.
I think it was Red Bull. I mean, he was in the NFL commercial,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so I guess to answer your question, I think we're going to see it merge eventually. I just don't know who's going to bring it all together, and whoever does is going to make a lot of money off of this,
Yeah.
right? They'll be very successful. I think right now I see a lot of players, unless you're top tier, right? I see a lot of guys going solo on this stuff, and I think even the top tier guys, I think that their managers don't even really know what's going on, right? Um, and my friend who does athletic sports as a manager,
Mhm.
she's trying to figure it out too, right? She's like, how do we put this stuff together? Because it to me it doesn't make sense. And when she pitches, she's like, it still doesn't make sense to me. So she hasn't touched esports yet, but I feel like in the next, probably this year or next year, you'll start seeing it come together,
Hmm.
because a lot of people do scratch their heads and they're like, the future of esports and where it's going. I think it's just going to continue to just march down the road. More people are going to play games. More people are going to continue to spend more time. More people are going to be on Twitch. You're just going to continue to see this. Um, but when you have your standouts, you're either going to see solo guys like, I mean, to a certain extent, Daigo,
Yeah.
right? To Ninja is probably the best example we have. He has no team. He's his own person. And when you look at other teams like, I mean, I'm not singling anyone out. I'm not saying Echo Fox or Cloud9 are not any good, but I think they're looking at what they're doing and saying, all right, does this really make sense?
Hmm.
So I don't have an answer for it. I just know that it's uncharted and there's opportunity.
Yeah.
And,
I
and, and if I can find the opportunity, I'm gonna go after it too. I'll be honest with you. I just don't know where it is.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like, it's one of the things. Like, my wife, she's one of the top Twitch streamers or female Twitch streamers out here in Hawaii. And one of the things, like, and, this is not to throw shade at the Twitch Hawaii team or anything like that. Like, she's
Yeah.
happy to be part of it. But one of the questions she asked me, she's like, "What is the point of being on the team when you see like the top people are? It's just them." And
Bingo.
I was like, I told her, I was like, that's a good point. I said, that's why, like, it's cool to be part of a team. Is I told her it's kind of like the whole networking thing because you get to put your hand in different communities and meet different people, but at the same time, it's like it's your brand. Like you have to be
Yeah.
so recognizable. So it's like, yeah, I wonder about that too. It's like,
Yeah. It's I could see benefits for some teams. Like if you're young and you're trying to get a salary and you need money to travel, I could see that part of it. You know,
yeah,
but but it's temporary. I mean, right now you're seeing people get dropped. It's I don't know. There's just no answer for it.
yeah.
There's no trend. There's no answer. Um, I I don't know. I just really don't know, because your wife brings up a great point. I could do this on my own without anyone's help, and if a sponsor came to me separately, why do I need a team to help me with that when I can get it on my own?
Yeah.
So it's I, I'm waiting to see somebody write a book on it, because everyone I've talked to, both on the esports management side, the esports sponsorship side with companies, they give me so many different answers on their opinions on it, and I almost feel like, okay, how do they sell this? How do they make it happen?
Like I mean, if you figure it out, let me know because I really, I don't get it. I'm like,
I mean, when it comes to FGC, one of my thoughts was it's like a boxer,
yeah,
right? I mean, you're one person. You're not part of like a Gears of War team or like a CS:GO team, right? You're one person. I don't see why, when Mike Tyson was out there, who were his sponsors? How did that work out?
yeah,
Maybe we look at UFC, right? How do the UFC fighters do it? Maybe that's the answer to this problem. I don't know. I don't. And is it really a problem? I don't know if it's a problem.
yeah.
So
So I wanted to ask you, with Daigo's book, The Will to Keep Winning, like it's one of, would you say like that's one of your, because I kind of feeling it's one of your top selling items on your website. Like, how did you guys get to be part of like the creation of the book or just,
no, the book is is published in Japan,
Mhm.
and I would say it is, in terms of units, the top selling product
Okay,
we've ever sold. So we did not have any hand in the translation or the creation of the book. In this case, we're purely a distributor for the book, right? So
okay,
yeah. But in terms of products, Um, if I remember right, I mean, we went through hundreds of them at Evo when we first had access to it to sell.
Hmm.
It was the first time the English translated book was actually at Evo, I think, and it
Wow.
literally it sold so fast. And then it's funny, we get emails all the time saying, "Is this the electronic version?" I'm like, "No, this is the real book." And yeah,
Wow.
so yeah, I could honestly say whenever we do shipments, that book is always going out like every day. So,
Wow.
and it was funny when we sold out, like we were telling people, "Hey, we're really about to sell out." And almost daily we would get emails. So is the book back in stock? And we're like, we don't know when we're getting it back. So,
That's
so
crazy.
it's in stock now if anyone's listening.
And
But
everyone who's listening and watching, links to everything is down in the description below. So make sure you go and check that out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Daigo is amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're down to the last three questions. One of the questions I want to ask you is, back to fighting games. But when it comes to fighting games, do you feel it's best to play with a fight stick or a fight pad? And why for either or for both?
Uh, I don't think there's a good answer. I use a stick. Why did I? So I've always played on pad, right? At
Mhm,
home on console, I always played on pad. And as I've gotten older, I felt that I was just getting slower on the pad for whatever reason. I couldn't get
mhm.
my fingers to do whatever it had to do. Um, so the guys at Mad Cats, shout out to Mad Cats. Back
Are,
then they
are they back?
no, they're not back. Well, they're making their mice again.
Okay. Okay.
But when they were still making their stick, they sent me over some sticks. They were samples, so it's not like I got cool sticks. They were some sample sticks, and I was like, all right, let me try this, and it felt like it did at the arcade again.
Okay.
Right, so I prefer the fighting stick because it felt like it did at the arcade. But it's really funny when I go back to pad.
Hmm.
I have no idea I literally have no idea what I'm doing. It feels so foreign. It feels so foreign to me right now. But I love. I use a Mad Cat stick. Vitrix. I'm waiting for a chance to get one of your sticks when it comes out. So that's gonna be an amazing stick. And um, is there an advantage? I don't know. I mean, you're seeing guys like Knuckle Dew and Snake Eyes on pad, right? I mean, and then you see like Daigo and Justin and everyone else on sticks. So I don't think it's really your personal preference, but I like fighting sticks.
And would you say, like, what's your current favorite brand? Because you got Hori, you've got Razer, um, you got Bitrix now. I mean, they're coming out with theirs, and then you've
Yeah.
got what is it, 8 Arc? They're the
Yes.
other one.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I like the I
I'll
like
call
my
them. Yeah,
I actually for what's out. Well, I have a TE2, so I have a Mad Cats.
yeah. Hmm.
Uh, uh, Out of all the sticks, I like the Panthera actually because of the at the time because of the weight.
Hmm.
But I actually felt I don't know if it's out yet, but I was using the new one,
Oh, the Evo version.
and that thing weighs like nothing. It's featherweight.
Are you serious?
There's a new one out. I won't say where I played with the stick, but it was like it solved a big problem that I felt was out there. Is I have a stick in my backpack and I'm at an event all day. My back's
Hmm.
gonna start hurting, right? This stick felt like no weight. It was probably less than a pound. It
Oh,
was amazing. It felt the same, just no
mhm.
weight. What's the other thing? You can't open it up, so it is sealed.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
But
I know. I pre-ordered the Panthera Evo stick. I think that's the new one. It's got the headset input, and I've heard a lot of people say it's really good, but I didn't know it's that light.
whatever, I don't know what stick I was playing with. I know it was a Panthera. It was super duper light, super light.
Oh,
Uh, the Vitrix stick, I like the solid feel of it.
mhm.
It's also it's relatively light. I mean, it's the same weight as the other sticks. But what I like about the Vitrix stick is just the design. Now, me looking at it from a design aspect, it looks really slick.
Yeah, very industrial.
Very industrial, and I like the way the buttons feel on it. So, yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, man, I've been debating because I want a new stick. I got into using fight sticks probably like consistently about a year ago. And my friends at Video Games Hawaii, shout out to Keith Nemos and Ray Taruya. I asked them, I'm like, hey, I want to get into sticks because I was having the same problem with playing on pad. I'm like, I'm getting slower. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or what it is, but my inputs are not, as fast as they were. And I went from using, your standard wireless controller to getting the fighting pads. And it's like, this is not helping. And they're like, oh, try stick. And that first month, oh my God, it sucked.
It was bad. I remember the transition. It was bad.
Oh man, it was really bad because I'm over here like I don't want to play anymore. They're like, no, stick with it. I don't want to play.
Yeah. I remember the same thing.
But it's like, I my first stick was the T2 plus. I've got the Ryu version, and then I went from that one to because I've got them all. Like, I have a whole shelf here of fight sticks. I think
That's
I can
cool.
show you. Yeah, I can show you. Is it? Oh, it is. See, it's messy. There you go.
Yep.
So, and I got some up here, but they got stuff on it. But yeah, so like I've got the two Soul Calibur ones, the one for the Xbox One and PS4. I've got the Razer Street Fighter V one. I've got one for my Switch. I've got the Dragon Ball Z Panthera. I've got the Tekken 7. And I'm like, everyone's like, oh, they all play this. Like, most people that don't play fighting games are like, oh, every stick feels the same. I'm like, no, they don't.
No, they don't. They don't.
No.
They don't. They absolutely don't.
Oh, man. So when it comes to like, I know my audience is probably they're waiting for me to ask this question.
Sure.
But what advice would you give to someone looking to get into creating, their own business and or startup, and what should they know going into
it? Don't do it if you're faint of heart. No, all kidding aside, I think when it comes to starting your own business, being an entrepreneur or being a business owner, even, right? I think the time is right. Like the tools that we have or anybody has at their disposal for marketing and branding is right there.
Yeah.
The game has changed completely. You're not competing against the big companies when you're trying to do advertising on print or radio. That's all done.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't exist. The marketing game has changed. So I think from a branding and awareness standpoint, anybody can do it.
Mm-hmm.
It takes time. You got to be consistent, but you can create awareness for your company pretty easily now through any social media. Um, the new TV, radio, and newspaper is in your hand. It's your cell phone,
Yeah.
right? People are looking at their cell phones all day. So that's what you need to use to your advantage as a tool. When it comes to just know-how, I mean, I hate to sound kind of cliche-ish, but really just kind of follow your passion. You know what you want to do and create, and what you want to. Because if you do that, you're going to stick with it longer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you love just creating businesses, then try to create businesses and go after it. Don't be afraid to fail. You're going to fail a lot. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. But
Mm-hmm.
if you don't make any mistakes, that means you're playing it safe and you're not going to go very far.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, like I said, in Surgo, we've made mistakes. We've gone after some licenses that didn't play out very well for us, where we actually took heavy losses.
Mm-hmm.
But we've done other things where we've done really great. Right. So we've learned kind of our space and where we could, we could do better or not. And I think for anybody who wants to start a business, you're going to make mistakes and it's okay. Don't
Mm-hmm.
dwell on it. It's not going to define who you are for the rest of your life, right? It's just a moment in time, and yeah, just don't be afraid to go after things. Um, and then finally, or a couple more things. Like one is just make a lot of friends who are like-minded with you. and just work with those folks. Like if you see someone on Twitter or social media like Instagram, send them a DM. What's the worst that could happen? It's funny. I remember I reached out to this one person and I said, hey, you look like what did I say to her? I said, hey, you look like an influencer. Would love to work with you on stuff, because I actually used to work for Adidas.
Hmm.
So she was like, oh, and I saw she was doing stuff for Adidas. She was designing for Adidas. And she snapped back really nasty. And she's like, I'm not an influencer. I hate it when people say that to me. Don't ever contact me again. And I was like, oh my God, this girl has like, hundreds of thousands of followers. And she snapped at me. And I didn't take it personal. I was just like, wow, I just know not to call her anymore. But
Right?
I was like, that's cool. But
Shit.
yeah. But you'll find that when it comes to the reaching out, and I'm not talking about the influencing game, but when it comes to reaching out to people to ask for help, there you'll find the people that will help you out, right? So
Yeah.
don't be afraid to ask for help. I've dealt with everything from logistics to international, like shipping containers and things like that. I wasn't afraid to ask for help, and no one should be. You're not going to have the answers to everything ever,
Mhm.
ever. You're never going to have the answer. So you gotta be ready for that part, and that's the challenging part of it. Um, and then last, just have fun.
Yeah.
As much of a daunting story, and I talk about all these bad things. Um, when you do a really cool project, when you hit a sales goal, when you open up your shop, I mean, enjoy the moment, right? I mean, you did something really, really, really cool, and celebrate that. It doesn't end there, but celebrate that and recognize that. Talk about it. Talk about it on your don't talk about drama on your social media. Talk about
Yeah.
how you just opened up. It's okay to be proud of yourself and show off that you opened up your shop. It's not being conceited. You're telling people, hey, this is what I accomplished. And guess what? I found more of my friends just through different industries and different professions. They watch me. They may not say anything, but then they come back to me like years, a couple months later, a couple years later, and they're like, "Hey, man, I see what you're doing. How can we work together?" Right?
Mhm.
So you gotta wave your own flag. It's not about being conceited or into yourself. If there's anyone who's going to celebrate, you gotta celebrate for yourself. So best
Yeah.
advice I could give.
And I love that you gave that advice because that's is definitely something I tell people who want to get into like content creation on Twitch or YouTube or podcasting. They're like, oh, I don't know if I can, this company will work with me or if this person will collab with me. And I'm like, the worst you can do is not ask. And
Yes.
that is the worst thing you can do. Or have the mentality, oh, I'm just small. Like I tell people, get that out of your head.
Yeah.
Just you're a content creator. You're out here trying to do something you enjoy. If you have that mindset of, oh, I'm a small creator, then you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yep.
You got to take risks. And I, as a podcaster, as a content creator and YouTube and Twitch streamer, I'll admit it, I have fucked up a lot. you know, you know, I'm over here like that wasn't smart. I shouldn't have beefed with that bigger YouTuber. I shouldn't have. I shouldn't
Yeah.
have said that. I shouldn't have burnt that bridge. HTC, if you're watching, I'm so sorry I trashed the HTC Vive. Please work with me again. I'm wiser now, but you never know. Like it's so simple, and the mindset I think a lot of people have is there's a limited amount going around, and there's really not. Like there's so much. Like if you have an idea, there's probably somebody who would buy it or who would like it. And when you have that mindset of abundance, it's like sky's the limit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I completely agree.
but my last question, man, is when will we see you in Hawaii? At our local scene with Video Gamers Hawaii 808 on Oahu, or even on the Big Island with FGC Hawaii. Like, what are some upcoming projects as well that you're working on that you can speak on?
In terms of upcoming projects, let me start there. we're just getting ready for our show schedule. So
Okay.
we have a product line that we want to release throughout this year.
Mhm.
So once we confirm show schedules, then we start announcing product releases. Um, Hawaii, I got to figure out a show to go out there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So personally, if I can get out there, like I will be out there, and I want to meet the FGC crew. I want to hang out there, and it's been about, I'd say, about 4 years since I've been back to Hawaii for personal reasons.
Mhm.
Um, I love it out there. I love everything. I love the food. I love everything. I wanted to move, before all this happened. I wanted to move to Hawaii. When I was younger, I was like, I'm moving to Hawaii. But of course, I'm older now and had to get a job. But it, yeah, you know what? I will let you guys know when myself or any of the other team are out there. We definitely want to engage with the community. We love the community out there, and we just want to do. We actually want to do more. So if anyone's listening from Hawaii, let us know how we can help support you guys and make things happen out there. And we'll see what we can do from the mainland. So yeah. So I danced around the question. I don't know, but I want, but I'll be there soon. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right. Hey, actually, I lied. I got one last question.
Okay.
Did you have fun?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. And you know what? I hope everyone else listening had fun. This was great. Thank you so much for inviting me. Um, when I talked to Pete, so of course I had to ask Pete. I was like, "Yo, man, how was it?" And Pete goes, "It was a lot of fun." He said, "You do such a great job, with the interviews and stuff like that." So it kind of kept me at ease because Pete was actually nervous, I think, coming into it.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy. I've had a lot of people tell me they're like, either they're nervous or they think it's going to be like a cookie cutter type of interview. Because the thing is, like, with Chris Tatarian, when I had him on,
yeah.
shout out to Chris Tatarian. He's like, bro, I was so not looking forward to this interview. He's like, I thought it was going to be cookie cutter, and I'm like, I said, I'm glad you had that because I can shatter that expectation because I've watched so many interviews. And I think that's really what's helped me build this style where I can have organic conversations and I
Yeah.
can put people at ease because I've seen the super awkward ones where people are like, ha ha, what do I say next? This question. I'm like, no, whatever you want to talk about, I can guide the ship, but if we veer off, I can go with it. Like
Yeah.
I really like making the show about the guests I have on. So
You did a great job, and hopefully you'll invite me back when we do some other stuff. So
hey, I'd love to have you back on the show. I mean, I had a great time with having you on the show. The audience enjoyed it. People that are going to listen to it on the podcast outlets, be it iTunes or Spotify or how many other? I keep forgetting how many other outlets we're on. I've lost track. People are going to enjoy it. We're definitely going to want to have you back on the show. And man, we got to collaborate at some point. I would love to
sure.
collaborate with you.
Yeah. Let's chat offline about it. But like I said, I'm always open.
Definitely, man. And tell people again where they can find you.
So Insurago.com is our website where you can buy all our products. For social media, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're even on Pinterest, which I'll admit I haven't really kept up, but we're even on Pinterest. But you can find all of us under the name Insurago. Oh, we're on Twitch too. So we do some actually casual tournaments for the
Awesome.
casual players. Yeah, which a lot, I know that doesn't exist, but we actually have done some tournaments, and we're starting to see sponsors coming that way towards us. So
Wow. Okay, so I need to hop on one of your casual tournaments because I'm not pro level at all.
here's the crazy thing: we had a pro show up,
What?
so it started to gain traction. Yeah, we had Shine from NLBC. He showed up and he cleaned house.
What?
Yeah, he showed up. So
Oh,
and how do I say this? When I actually hosted it, I was actually somewhere. It was actually at a pro gamer's home with a bunch of pros there. So they were
hmm.
watching it and they were like, "How do we get in on this?" So we never meant for pros to show up because Sorry, I don't mean to.
No. Keep going, keep going.
So our intent. So Pete and I created this casuals tournament. Our intent was to create an environment that felt safe for any type of player, right? And what I
Mhm.
mean by safe is like, just somewhere where you can have fun. And some people were burning us because Shine showed up. But my thoughts on it was, hey, you get to play a pro,
Exactly.
right? I mean, he's not in tournament. I mean, this is a tournament, but you're playing a pro, so your opportunity to play is there. And the people that were playing against Shine and some of the other like Diamond and Super Diamond and Plats, there were, and we had some bronzes in there, so we had every level.
Hmm.
They all said, "Oh my God, I actually learned something." Right? So they learned about the game, even though they got bodied completely. They were actually learning. So it's one of those environments where it's safe for anybody to play. Hey, if you're like I'm a bronze, I'm gonna get bodied instantly.
I can't get
But
out of bronze, so I accepted it. I'm bronze for life. I can't get out of it.
but yeah, our tournament isn't like it isn't double elimination. It's king of the hill. So whoever gets the first 10 wins in a battle lounge moves on. So, but yeah, that's our tournament, and we saw pros and a very notable female player came in second. So yeah, she's an artist. Her name is Mattis Mao. She's an artist, apparently well known in the community as a Urium player, and she came in and she kicked some serious butt in there. So
Wow,
yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch. It was really fun.
that's amazing. And folks, if for everyone watching, everyone listening, the links to everything is down in the description below. If you want to go to the Twitch, the Twitter, the Facebook group, the website, everything. I need to add the Pinterest because I left that one out. I didn't know you had that, but I'm adding that too. So if you
No,
want,
now I gotta update it.
but everything, people, is down below. And Rob, it's been an amazing time having you on the show. It's an honor having you on representing NSURGO. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And everyone, you'll be able to catch this podcast if you caught it right now live on youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova is here. You'll also be able to catch it on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. See, I got to count because I'm losing it. I got to remember everything it's on. So iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio now. We just got on, well, we got cleared for it. It's not up yet, but we're on Sirius FM. So we're making rounds, and we're about to come to podcast 1.
Wow.
So, yes. We're getting around. We're getting around. But, yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. And, Rob, you want to leave them with anything before we chat offline?
Hey, if you guys are into opening a business, keep going after it. Follow your passions, and really from me to you, thank you so much for having me on the talk show.
Thank you. It was an honor having you on. We're going to stay connected. We're going to have you back on the show many, many times. I need to have a show with you and Pete on. I think that would be amazing.
It would be more comedy than anything else.
All right. And that wraps up the show, people. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And as always, have a great day. Too sweet. Be the elite. Yes, I'm a wrestling fan. I love the elite. I love AEW. Hopefully, Kenny Omega, if you're watching, if you're listening, sign me since you're executive vice president. And thank you for watching. I said that already. It's awkward at this point. I'll catch you on the next one.